Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Bullpen. In the Bullpen today, my dear brother from another mother, politically misguided, yes, Shelley Wynter, 95.5 WSB, radio superstar and noted conservative. Shelley, good day, welcome.
What's going on, my brother? Congratulations on all your success, my brother.
Thank you, dear brother. Wish I could say the same for you. No, congratulations to you too, man. Got you on that one, Shelley. All right, you okay, brother? All right.
I walked into that one.
You walked into it, brother.
I walked into that
Don't worry, you'll give it back to me.
Kudos.
All right.
I'm waiting. I'm waiting.
I know you wait just for the right moment. All right.
How's it going, brother?
I'm doing good, brother. You doing well?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Shelley and our friends, most who watch the program are aware that he is on the right, I'm on the left, naturally. We're gonna talk about the Tyre Nichols killing, what this means for policing, and specifically, what should this mean for police reform? Because according to Republicans, it shouldn't mean much of anything. I don't want to assume what you believe about the sentiment of police reform and the killing of Tyre Nichols. So if you would, sir, give us your sentiment and I will then opine.
I think we're all on the same page on this from the standpoint of this was a disgusting act. It was thugs, animal behavior by animals and thugs. Whether the fact that they're cops, police officers made it that much worse. But I mean, this is sickening what we saw. As far as police reform, most Republicans are for police reform. They're for more training. They're for funding of more training. The hang up in a George Floyd Act with most Republicans seems to be, and this is based on me talking to the likes of Tim Scott and others, has to do with qualified immunity. I go back and forth, quite honestly. I get qualified immunity. I don't like it as a small government conservative. I feel the people should be completely able to sue their government for whatever reasons. But I do understand that as soon as you get rid of qualified immunity for police officers, you're gonna have a slew of 1-800-call-me-lawyer ads saying, have you been arrested for driving drunk? Call me so we can sue the police. So I go back and forth on it, but most Republicans are not against police reform. I think that's a mischaracterization.
Let me talk about that, because I think I may be able to convince you to come on the other side of the fence and give me an opportunity to do so. When you know the origin of a thing, you can then determine the nature of a thing. The origin of qualified immunity was to create a barrier between cops in the South in particular, who were committing violence against black people in the movement and whites that supported the movement. And so this concept, this doctrine, this judicial doctrine of qualified immunity began. And it was to protect the physical assets of the police officers' ownings, the home, the vehicle, etc. And it successfully did so. So now you have a completely different set of rules for a government worker that cannot apply to anyone else. So that's number one. The origin of a thing can tell you the nature of a thing. That's number one. Number two, in the final version of the bill, because remember, this bill got watered down. I'm going to read to you the final version of the bill. This is the one that Democrats said, all right, Tim, all right, Senator Scott, here's our watered down version. The part that you're talking about says, this bill will limit qualified immunity as a defense to liability in a private civil action against a law enforcement officer. Why is that problematic? It only limits it, and one of the ways it would have limited it is by having a judge make the decision to set aside qualified immunity. So even in the final version of the bill, it did not eliminate qualified immunity. It only provided an opportunity for someone to make a decision case by case. And then thirdly, dear brother, when we say, well, this is going to be a problem, a bunch of 1-800 numbers, lawyers are going to say, call me, you're damn right, they should. If the police are breaking the law, you should have proper representation. Medical doctors, hold on, dear brother, medical doctors, they have the same liability standards They're a licensed profession. Psychiatrists, same liability standards. They are a licensed profession. So why can't cops have that same standard, dear brother?
Because when I go to a doctor, my dear brother, I'm going to the doctor. The doctor's not dragging me away that I'm kicking and screaming, not wanting to. No one wants to be arrested, my dear brother. Most people who get arrested don't want to be arrested. So there's going to be an interaction between the officer and the person being arrested by virtue of the fact that most people don't want to be arrested.
But I gotta
hold on, I'll let you talk. So the other part of it is Clarence Thomas, of all people, the person that you guys call names, is the one who is pushing loudly about qualified immunity. And he's pushing back against it. Forget the origin of a thing, because I know everything from your standpoint goes back to slavery, racism, or white supremacy. But
no,
the fact
not everything,
hold on, but Clarence Thomas doesn't like qualified immunity. And the reason why most conservatives don't like it as a premise is because it doesn't tie into conservatism and the idea of small government and freedom. However, that being said, when you talk about limited qualified immunity, it's still going to expand. I'm not saying that's why Republicans are against the Georgia Reform Act. That's the Democrats watered it down. I think if you take it out completely, it will pass. I think that's the hang up based on what I'm hearing from people. But I also believe this, the George Floyd Act, just like body cams, when you guys got all excited about body cams, when Eric Holder put forth that law, right now, it means that George Floyd Act will be nothing towards police brutality. It's not gonna stop it. Bad police are gonna still be bad police. You'll be able to get paid off of it because you'll be a newly minted lawyer. So you'll be able to collect $1 million settlement out of it, but it's not gonna change anything. Bad police are bad police. We need to get rid of them completely.
All right, so let me respond to that. Number one, this is an industry standard. If you want to get rid of bad actors within a particular industry, you have to enact new rules and you have to enforce them. Or you have to dogmatically enforce the rules that you have not enforced. There's a cultural dynamic that has to transform in order for your conclusion to even happen. So that's one. Let me go back to a dynamic connected to police reform in America. You're right on the sentiment that the vast majority of Republicans, Republican voters in particular, are for police reform. As a matter of fact, 96% of Americans are for some level of police reform. It is the one item, one of the very few items, where everybody is pretty much in agreement that reform needs to take place. However, the police unions don't want reform. The police officers do not typically want reform, even though the sentiment is expressed by the majority of Americans. You don't see a congruent reaction inside of the industry of policing that matches the sentiment of the average voter. That is a problem, dear brother, is it not?
Of course it is. Of course it is. We pay their salaries, so of course it is a problem. But I think we can get to police reform if we can have a normal conversation around it and not, I would say, Republicanize or Democrat demonize the teams of negotiating.
So let's do this. We only got 1 minute.
I think we'll get to police reform.
All right, we got 1 minute left. So out of the George Floyd Act, the Policing and Accountability Act, aside from the qualified immunity standard, which by the way has a lot of ambiguity, different ways you can do it, case by case basis, et cetera. We know it doesn't eliminate qualified immunity, it's still there. Set that aside. Do you have a problem with anything else in the bill?
Not really. The only thing is the list, the master list of that, the database.
I think that's one of the most transparent things about the bill. Go ahead.
I love that part of the bill. My problem is I want it to only be when an officer is actually found guilty or found punishable by grand jury, judge, whatever. I don't want it to be a list of officers who've been accused by some perp that he beat him up in a jail cell one time and now he's in some database. That's my only concern. I know what databases look like when they start off with all good intentions, and this is a good intention. I love the database idea. I just want to make sure it doesn't tie up accusations and mix accusations up with actual behavior.
Wait a minute,
that's my
brother.
Only thing.
Okay, so here's my response to that.
Because I know 99% of all police officers are good people.
All right, so hell no, I definitely don't believe 99%. Number one, but let me make it very clear. less than 1% of the civilian population will ever give the police some level of aggression during an arrest, less than 1%. Also, if you don't want them to have a database that includes the charge or what someone has said, remember, your charges are still on your record. My charges are still on mine. Like whatever we're charged with is still on our record, even if we've never been convicted. So why is it, dear brother, when a civilian charges a cop, you don't want that on their record?
Because I know there's a financial incentive for the civilian to charge the cop. There's a financial
incentive for the cop to charge and overcharge black folk.
Well, that's not the cop. The cop doesn't necessarily charge you. The DA or the prosecutor charges you. You know that. You know that.
When I go, the ability to create the charging docket from the go.
And when I go to court and I say, yes, Your Honor, what's it? Oh, you're fined $200. I pay the $200 and I keep it moving. It's off my thing. I'm just saying that's my only problem. I'm not saying I'm against this. I'm saying that's my only issue.
All right. They can see your background. I want to see theirs. I appreciate you, dear brother. Thank you for coming on the show.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. My brother. Love you, brother.
Love you back, man.